Crikey, me balls are falling off. Hello and welcome to the Drunk Duck Quackast. I'm Ocean and with me is Pitface.
Hello.
Veins.
Hello, I was here the whole time.
And Tanserine.
Hello.
Okay, so we're going to be chatting about what were we going to be chatting about? It's imprinting. This Quackcast is about imprinting. So it's about it's the way you put on your personality traits and mannerisms and humor and everything onto your own characters. So there's sort of not intentionally, but how they can unintentionally pick up things of yours. And that's based on Emma Clare's news post.
How are we going to know about it?
Mm-hmm.
I think we all each have to examine each other's work. Expose ourselves to each other and let each other... whatever.
You wish we would expose.
Only to me, that's all. Alright, so, that's what we'll do. But first we've got to do the featured comic. So, here you are with the feature.
Hello, this is Poetic Oxley, and the feature I've selected for this week is Tainted Eden by Black Blight Woods, and it is rated T for teen. Lotus and Sybil, both young women in their early 20s, leave the tavern they both work late one evening when they encounter the May Queen, a dryad that lives in the woods. At first, it was a good idea that the two ladies stayed close together after they left work, but unfortunately, the dryad is faster than both of them, and misfortune is about to strike, or bite. This sends the girls to the other side of town to seek help in taking down the May Queen. The comic is mostly in black and white with a few colored pages in between. Each chapter begins with gorgeous full-colored cover pages. Don't walk alone in the woods at night, and read Tainted Eden by Black Blight Woods, rated T.
And that was the feature. Okay, so next up we have the featured music from Gumwallis. And this week, Gumwallis has given us the theme to Crypts and Cantrips. This is an epic tune evocative of a vast sunlit valley, green and fertile. Clouds sweep across, washing it in a refreshing summer rain. Small animals dance and frolic in the puddles. The clouds blow away, leaving everything golden lit in the rays of the low afternoon sun. So, take it away, Gumwallis, with Crypts and Cantrips. And that was our featured music. Thank you very much for that, Gumwallis. What a beautiful track. And I hope you read the comic, Crypts and Cantrips by It's Kirti. It's Kitri? I think, yeah, it's Kitri and rated T. So, yeah, lovely, lovely theme from Gummalus. Okay, so Imprinting. This is Emma Claire's news post from Friday, actually. Well, it won't be Friday anymore. It'll be Friday in a few weeks in the past when this Quackast goes live. So, from Friday the 9th, I think? No. Friday the 10th. That was it. Okay. 10th of August. That's how far we are in the past.
I can't wait to get to start enjoying the rest of this summer, and then I'm not even thinking about going back to school. I'll try to continue that thread in the next Quackast, although it's probably not interesting enough.
This post is Emma Claire's post about imprinting. So she's written, like, the other day she was discussing her creative process to a poor, unsuspecting soul, who, to their credit, seemed to be content to put up with her rambling. And they mentioned they enjoyed the facial expressions of the characters in her comic. And she went in talking about how her face, contorts when she wants to do the right feeling of a character, as, we all do. And that struck her as interesting. And, she mentioned she caught her characters mimicking her mannerisms. And then she sort of, worked out the fact that, hang on, her characters are sort of taking on her personality from that, and they're sort of taking on her traits, unsuspecting. Maybe like she raises an eyebrow quizzically when someone does something right, and her characters do that same thing. So it's like they become her, and not in a deliberate way. She's not modeling her characters after herself. It's just that they take over those traits, and so your characters become mirrors of yourself in that way. Not necessarily looking like you, but just acting the same way as you. Do you guys find that with your characters? Do your characters, have you realized that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Really? Yeah, well, I've noticed Oscar was obviously very much a Bainesian sort of fellow in some way.
And that is it.
Of you.
Yeah.
TK as well. He's a Bainesian in a way, in a different aspect.
I didn't want it to be like Oscar to be me, so it sort of fits right in with Emma's post. Like, it was a surprise because a lot of people said it. I was like, oh, it really wasn't on purpose. I did want to make him a little more, like, I wanted to make him and TK different from each other.
Yeah.
The sort of regular guy, quote unquote, and the wackier friend. And so I guess it makes sense when I think of it that way, because when you yourself think of a regular person, it's going to be you, whether you're
not the
all that regular or not. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, Oscar's sort of like a really nice guy. He's sort of very open and honest, and that's very much you. So, yeah. And he's a very sensible kind of person. So, yeah, that is something you can very easily identify with you. It's like Oscar is like the younger Baines in a way. Well,
I appreciate that. Those adjectives sound nothing like me when you say them.
He's like the ideal Baines sort of caught out of time. The eternal Baines. He's delightful character. Especially the animated version. People, you should watch that. You should link them to that.
I gotta do some new episodes of that, yeah. He's got the voice actor who does them, like, captures me, like, really well, actually.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah, I don't know how that worked, but guy's brilliant. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's just a coincidence. So we'll remember to link people to that. So I'll make a note of that. The animated... It's not called Typical Strange, though, I don't think. At least the early versions.
You can get there from typicalstrange.com, I think. It's maybe one extra click to get you to the website. Or it's probably on YouTube. God, I haven't even looked. Or does the website still exist even? I'll have to check.
I know for some reason lately, YouTube's been recommending me all those animated episodes for some reason. It's coming up with my recommendations, yeah. Hey,
we're all being surveilled.
Yeah, exactly. You're being watched. So yeah, so those characters that are pick-up traits. What about your other characters? Do they as well?
Definitely, yeah. Like I would say, they all have similar. Specific examples I can't really think of. I'm sure a lot of it is unintentional, but
Grimace like Wade.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I do have a signature like move where like one eye is like squinting for all the characters. I mean, like one eye is squinting and one eye is more open. I don't think I do that in life, but or holding up one finger to make a point.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know where that's I love that too, but I don't really do that.
Oh god!
Sort of slouching with hands in pockets. I certainly do that.
Oh yes,
all the time. Usually at work. I'm supposed to be doing stuff.
Slacker.
Yeah, exactly.
We should all do that one finger point thing, because that's
that's right. When you're trying to emphasize something, preferably something like not that relevant, but you're trying to make it strong.
But actually, yeah. That's a good trait.
But they like roll their eyes at each other, and I roll my eyes at
everything,
life, all the time, constantly. Yeah. So.
Well, they do, especially Abigail. It's
yes, yeah,
her kind of thing.
Yeah, like her, like boy. Definitely, I have some Abigail in my personality or in my mannerisms.
Beautiful.
But,
and
yeah.
it was all it was not like conscious. These are traits that you just happened to give them because it made sense.
Yeah, I don't think any of it was conscious, other than, like I said, even this wasn't conscious, but like Oscar being a quote unquote regular guy. I mean, Abigail is a regular person too, but she has a different personality. But yeah, I probably kind of automatically gave Oscar my personality, because that's what my perception would be of a, regular person would be myself. True or not true, like that would be my perception because it's me. It's our baseline is ourselves, right?
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you give them all the facial expressions and the mannerisms and things like that as well. It's a package deal.
Yeah, all of that. Like, yeah, that would mostly be unintentional.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I love the way that happens. But yeah, Oscar is physically he's closer to you than all the other characters. So there's that.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't even see that, but I've had people like I'd just be sketching him randomly, and like people who don't know me that well even say, "Oh, it's you." Like, "Oh, really?" Like, "Oh, it doesn't even really look like me," but
as long as they're not
sort
saying
of
that about Penelope, it's okay.
Right? Yeah, I get that less often. That reaction.
Oh wow, that's you in a wig.
Yeah. Why are you wearing a wig? But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, with Pinky, I wanted to give her a weird nose shape, and often it's hard to draw things like noses and that kind of stuff, and ears and things like that. It can be hard to draw them sometimes unless you use a mirror. So inadvertently, some of those aspects were based on me. And of course I gave like an angular face with like big cheekbones and all that kind of stuff. And because those are the kind of things I'm quite familiar with. And so then people think, she's based on me, but she's not. She just had those happened to have kind of similar traits. And the nose wasn't even originally based on my lumpy nose. It was based on this woman that I used to draw back in art school years ago. This model called Bobette, who had a very like Persian sort of nose, very distinct nose. We used to call her Boobette because she was a nude model and she was very proud of her boobs. She used to always puff out her chest at everyone. But yeah, it was Bobette's nose. But yeah, since then, Pinky's nose has become slightly more my nose. So physically, she bears some sort of resemblance to me, but she is not me, so don't say she's me in a pink wig. I have had that from people.
I never would have. That never.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank goodness. 'Cause lately, I've changed her. Rounded her features off a bit and made her more feminine. So,
and the features, I could see you a little bit, like in the ways that you mentioned, but personality-wise, I think she's far more serious than you are.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I can't see her saying the things that you say.
that's true.
yeah. And she also doesn't own up to her misgivings as you do.
Yeah.
She's a bit more. I wouldn't say she is confident, but she's a bit more. She doesn't back down about things. Stubborn. That's it. Very stubborn. Yes, exactly.
I think that is due to a degree. Not really. I take that back, actually, because Tanj is right. When you speak about something initially, like you don't really speak about things in gray terms, like things
not equivocal
kind of
in a lot of ways.
out with you. Yeah, but and so maybe Pinky is like you in that way. When you believe something, you believe it.
Yeah.
You say it. But I agree with Tanj that when it comes after the fact, like if you have to reassess something, and maybe she's that way too, and we just haven't seen it, but you can change your mind more easily. Yeah. And then you guys also have the I think what she takes from you the most in the comic is probably her relationship with technical things.
Possibly, yeah. She's got all the mecha and all that kind of stuff that she pilots. Although I haven't really given her an affinity for those. Yeah, well, I suppose she's like piloting them and she's around them and she doesn't mind, doing that kind of technical stuff. Yeah. Although, for facial mannerisms and all that kind of thing, I did. Oh my God, my original sketches for her expressions, I went through pages and pages trying to get those right. Like smiles and weird lip shapes and squints of the eye and all that. And I just drew those over and over in my sketchbook. So she would have picked up a bit of that eventually. And I'm always like Emma said, when you draw weird expressions on the characters, you have to you don't necessarily look in a mirror to get them, but you have to mirror them yourself on your own face in order to draw them. To feel it.
Yeah.
I definitely do that. Not necessarily just for Pinky, but all the characters I do that for. Surprised look, with the mouth open, or an angry look, frowning, shouting.
Yeah, because doing all that is complex because it's not just your mouth opening. Your entire face moves with it.
Oh, everything. Yeah. When your mouth opens, it draws down all that skin around your cheeks and your jaw and all that kind of stuff as well. So everything changes. When your eyes open wide, they move your cheek muscles and all sorts of things. Very, very complex. You try and do those weird expressions without moving the facial features, and it looks wrong.
Come off like a robot.
Yeah, very much like
into the uncanny valley.
For Polly's latest page, so in Bottomless Waitress, I've got her doing the old seductive one-eye wink, you know, you do that wink and
Yeah.
which is such a weird expression. I didn't do it myself because it's so unnatural. You see it done and you think, oh, that's a natural thing, but it's totally unnatural to do a wink for your face
Yeah,
to
you
do.
posted about that the other day. It's hard to, yeah, especially capturing it when it is a wink. But yeah, that's hard to. That's why a lot of times when you see it like depicted, when it's depicted to the point where it's well enough where you could tell what it is. The rest of the face is really involved quite a lot. Like usually, like the mouth has to be open to a bit, and the head has to be cocked a certain way. That's like the language of the wink, you know.
You have to make it super obvious. Put a thumb up or something like that.
Half like a half smirk that goes like, huh? Like this.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Your smile goes up towards the closed eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But the problem is if you take a photo of somebody doing a wink, it looks like half their face is frozen with a stroke and the other half is doing something else. It doesn't match up because we're, you know, the whole bilateral symmetry, which means faces are only normal when both sides are doing the same thing. And with the wink, it just looks like half and half. It doesn't really look like a whole expression. And when you're drawing it, you can run into that same thing. So yeah, that was tricky to depict. It's hard. Well, yeah, that was
hard out there for a wink.
But actually, the most fun part of Bottomless Waitress is all the characters are simplified, so you could really give them great expressions on their faces all the time. I wonder if the ugly.
So are any of them based on, like, do you see yourself in those? I remember I asked, or like when you first drew Craig, I said, "Oh, is that like I thought it was you?" I was like, "Is that
really?
you?" And you were like, "No, not at all."
I was like, fuck off, Banks.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. It was the hair. I think that made me think that.
Yeah, I gave him a sort of curly hair.
Yeah.
With Craig, he's based on there's this Italian guy who does these sort of comic shorts in Heavy Metal magazine, and yeah, so he was meant to look like one of those European sort of characters. So yeah, these are sort of very cartoony, very kinky, very sort of sexy cartoons about these guys who are either South American or Italian or whatever, and this guy's sort of based on that.
Okay.
So it's hard to explain, but I like that European look, so I wanted to give him sort of not like an all-American look like you have a lot of these guys having, but more of a Italian or something. That's the effect that I wanted. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wanted to. Whereas
his rival is sort of an all-American. We haven't seen him in the comic yet, but you have drawn him on the cover. Is sort of an all-American, almost a 50s, like classical all-American kind of guy.
Look at John Wayne just walks into the diner.
More like a James. I want to say James Dean, maybe, or maybe not.
Elvis and James Dean.
Elvis, yeah, like young Elvis or something. Yeah.
That kind of thing, or what's his name? Marlon Brando when he was younger, you know.
Right.
James Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That greaser kind of cool look. I wanted him to be the classic love rival. Well, the classic like handsome boy.
Yeah, not really a rival. I mean, Craig is sort of nowhere. That's why I was kind of surprised when I thought, oh, did he base Craig on himself? Like you'd expect someone to base a more heroic character on themselves. Just like kind of interesting. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well, and I based what's his name? Who's the scientist guy? Wilfred.
Wilfred.
Yeah. So I based him on the Discovery Channel nerds. So back when Discovery Channel was good, and it was actually about science. You'd have all the the paleontologists and things and coming on all the time telling us about dinosaurs and all the weirdest looking guys. There were guys like with long beards and there's like scientist hippies almost, but nerdy scientist hippies, and I love that look. So that's what he's based on. So he walks around with a cowboy shirt and his receding hairline, but he's got really long red hair in a ponytail all the time, and his square glasses. I thought, yeah, that's exactly the kind of look of the nerdy, because scientists in comics are always done as like a very
like pocket protectors and comb hair and stuff and lab coats.
They're not real, and you never actually see scientists like this. So I wanted him to be a real nerdy scientist, like you actually see in the real world.
Who you kind of described? I don't think he's been on the dock for a long time, but Liam Edelson, who used to, I forgot what his name used to be on Drunk Duck, but he worked on the Uncanny Oopa Days.
Okay.
And I take it none of you are familiar, but it was a fun kind of like stick figure comic. But anyway, he became a geologist, and he very much looks like the way that you just described.
Wow.
Oh, that's so cool. And yeah, that's what I wanted to. I wanted him to actually be the real one, and I think that works better when someone like really reflects that kind of, because then you can internalize that more, and you can imagine yourself being that person, and it really helps you capture that character. I could, like, when I was doing Pinky originally, as a painting series, I bought the boots, I bought a pair of army trousers, I got the exact belt that she had, just so I could have a reference, and I would wear those not to be Pinky, but just because they were good. That was cool clothes. I like wearing army boots. Not army boots with army trousers at the same time. No, I wasn't that psycho. We wore them separately. Just the boots, nothing else. But yeah, that was... so I took on those kind of things. And yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah, you take on aspects of your character in those kind of ways. Have you guys ever done anything like that? Worn the props?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool.
Not very well.
Do tell.
Well, Dan has probably done it far more than I have. I wish I would do it more, but when I was working on The Dead, there was some car scenes in there, and I'm not very good at drawing cars, so I bought a little toy cop car because Officer Nice's car was going to be in it quite a bit, so I bought a little toy cop car to use as a prop. And then there's been things that I've bought, like intending, like, I'll buy this toy gun and I'll use it as a, I'll draw it and I'll use it as a prop, and like I never fucking do. It just gets buried in the book. I've intended to, but.
Oh, jeez. Well, actually, Bones, now that we
Bones
think
is
about
a prop, you're right.
Yeah, Bones wears his traditional outfit is the jeans and his leather jacket and a t-shirt, and you often used to dress exactly like that. So, I mean, it's just a bit of a Thrasher uniform.
From me. That's not necessarily something like subconsciously that I have done because I do it. That was purposely given to him because he's a Thrasher, and like, that's what you incorporate is. And like, personality wise, I can't really think of anything. Like, I guess Bones, if anything, he got my sense of humor in a way. it's just super heightened. Not that he laughs at a lot, but like the things that would amuse him or the things that he gets caught up in that come off amusing are obviously things that amuse me. But I don't know. I have been trying to think of my characters, and
I know.
like I can't really think of subconscious things that I've given them. Blitzov and like his whole thing about death. That was very
deliberate.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure there are things in there, but I just
about the
I can't
way
see them.
Bones picks his nose and farts with abandon, and
Well, you act like we all don't do that.
he does that in a much more obvious way. I mean, he does that in such a way that you can have that in a comic, whereas our other characters they do that off screen. I'm not saying you're that defines your personality, but
You're not saying it doesn't.
Oh jeez, yeah, I think I'm just digging myself into a hole here.
A little bit. I've been watching that happen for the last like a quarter of an hour.
I thought you were going to say 3 years.
Every single
That whole
Quackast.
call stuff.
Oh jeez. So what's your prop, Tance?
I have several that come and go in a sense. I have certain hats that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I actually do collect hats when I can find them, and they are affordable because the more they are true to ERA, the more expensive they get.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh right. You do.
So
I remember
I
we
do.
wore some of them.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I do have like a couple of hats that actually correspond with the ERA, and one is a fedora, and the other one, I don't know like sort of more like a woman's bowler hat in a sense, and then I
Like a
have a
close
couple of
shirt.
a couple of close hats from different decades that I use when I have to draw people in hats, and I know it doesn't work very well, but I still do have those. So there is also I have like I would love to be able to have a rifle or a Luger pistol
Oh yeah.
to actually hold, because the sense of scale of these weapons in people's arms and hands, sometimes I don't feel safe that I have them in correct proportions very often. So and the reason for this is that I haven't actually ever held guns like these, or guns in general, in my hands. On the other hand, you can't really get them without potentially getting in trouble for stupid reasons. So I can't really have. I would love to have this as a prop, but I don't. The other props that I have that I definitely don't need, but I still collect them, are all sorts of documents and papers and stuff that come from that era. I only got to use them in like 2 panels. One in that panel where Arthur has all this file on Basil and has all his IDs and official government documents, state documents around his actions and his occupation and stuff like that, and which I used to make them historically accurate as paperwork. Nobody cares. Nobody needs it. But I have it. And the other one was when Basil was reading the paper, which again nobody cares because, yeah. So but I do have a ton of those, and I still collect them, and I love collecting them. And I'm very grieved over the fact that at the time the Hellenic army didn't actually have dog tags, so you don't get to have dog tags. Otherwise, I would have ordered them, and I would have my characters, like my male casts at least, dog tags in my office. But at the time, the Hellenic army only had your standard military ID that you were supposed to have always on your person, and that was used for identification instead of a dog tag. So, no, you don't get that one.
Have you made up a military ID for Basil?
Yeah, I have actually.
How cool.
Yeah, I had to in order to put it in that panel that nobody looked twice.
So it reminds me of when I did when I had Sisi going in to assassinate this some important official, Tunisian or whatever, French, I can't remember. I had to look up the French coat of arms that they would have used in Tunisia in the 1920s. So that was a nightmare because the French didn't have a coat of arms back then. So I had to look up what would it have been if they did. And no one would care. It wouldn't mean anything to anyone, but I had to know. So I eventually came up with something by looking at old passports and things and the symbols they used to use. And then I had to have this character going through French documents. She's a secretary. And you could just write whatever you want, stick it through Google Translate, and just have the text there looking French. But no, I actually looked up old French documents in order to get the right text, for the papers that she's going through. It's just stupid. Why do we do this sort of thing? No one's going to know.
Except cinema scenes, if they did webcomics.
Exactly.
But it's fun though, isn't it? Although it's a nightmare, it also is a lot of fun. Like I remember when I was writing, that you actually have to do, but it wasn't required of me as the main script writer. I had to look up medical procedures for the movie script from 1939 and 1940, basically 1939, just to be safe. And I remember, and I still do. I have bought these surgical manuals from the era that have in very not archaic, but very old-sounding Greek, like innovative surgical methods, and you get to see all the different procedures that they describe in there, and some of them are still being used today. A lot of others aren't. And I remember just having all my surgeons talk about, drop terms and give orders to each other in the operating room. Just because it's so fun to have to go diving at old bookshops to find this sort of thing.
Oh my goodness, and have it actually real to the time. That's so good.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, the advisor on these issues would fill in these terms and everything, but I wanted to do it, so I did it.
Well, that won't break the suspension of disbelief if someone is versed in those ways. If they want to go full Bravo, I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, if they go full Bravo, they will always nag that the surgeon was will come across as too bold, too daring. How dare he do what he did? But it is medically sound, and I have double checked it with actual surgeons, so fine.
All right.
Fight me over it.
Fight me. I like
Fight
it.
me.
But does Basil take on any of your personality traits? So
Yes.
is he?
You would ask about Basil, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he's the best.
Yes. There are some things that he does that are directly mine, and usually when he's listening or paying attention, and he has this, he leans his head on his hand with the index finger at his temple. This is very much mine.
Okay.
That's how that's how it's comfortable for me. So that's my mannerism. But yeah, I cannot think of anything else that comes directly from Basil.
I think Martha's
Mainly-
the character we dissociate with you more than anyone else.
Really, I'm honored. But I promise you, she's not a self-insert. I would react in than she does. And I would have different approaches to a lot of things that she does. Anyway, the thing with Basil has more mannerisms of mine in the way that he evaluates things. Like his ethics align far more with me than his mannerisms, because his mannerisms were taken from a particular actor that I was thinking of when I was creating him. Like, if this was a movie, I would like someone like this guy to play him. So, and he's a Greek actor. That's why I'm not saying his name. It's like, okay. And the other thing that comes from me, and I think everyone who does the action is me, basically, in the way that they do it, is smoking, how they hold the cigarette.
Very stylish.
Especially Martha, because I feel confident because she's a woman that the way she holds the cigarette, being my way, is fine. So that's definitely me again. Men, I suspect also, when I draw men smoking, they probably also are a little bit effeminate because I copy me. When I do it, I copy myself. So.
Oh, how interesting!
Exactly what Emma says.
Yeah, they just managed to pick that up. That's interesting. I can't think of like, I'm trying to think of my own comic and if I've given any characters those kind of, mannerisms and things. Like, well, I think I probably do the same thing, like the way they sit, the way characters do their hand movements when they're talking, that kind of thing. I'll use my hands to emphasize when I'm talking. And isn't it funny? You give them those things that you don't necessarily notice. You think that's...
And the glares. I think the glares, though I can't say that anyone has told me that, but it's my impression that when characters glare, be they good or bad, they use my method of glaring more than anything. So.
Looking up underneath the eyebrows or something.
And it's not the eyebrow work or as much as a sort of widening the eye and frowning. Like the frown is very, very specific and like, making sure that everyone knows that you're frowning.
Oh, God. Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah. Yes, the really obvious frown. I've been caught doing that. That your frown becomes too obvious. that people know what you're thinking, even though you don't want them to know.
Right.
It's like you
Yeah.
give away your Yeah, I definitely have had that problem. I've had to stop myself doing obvious facial expressions because of that. Gets you into trouble.
But I also have to say that a lot of mannerisms aren't mine, but they do belong to people that I think of when I'm drawing that particular character. And not always actors. It could be people that I know in my daily life.
Okay.
And they don't know it, but they have given their mannerisms to someone.
Someone else has imprinted onto your characters.
Exactly.
It's a really good idea to watch other people for gestures and mannerisms and stuff like that. I don't do it enough, but I love that approach.
Yeah, the observation.
It's how you can separate people from yourself, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Back in the day, I used to give Bones lots of, not lots of, but enough of Dave Mustaine's mannerisms, for, like young Dave Mustaine when he was like an 18-year-old asshole, you know, and he's always like cringing and like showing his teeth and like all that kind of shit. So
yeah,
but that wasn't conscious either, though. That was a very conscious decision.
Dave Mustaine did have
that
very obvious expressions. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did we cut out for a second there?
I think something cut out there. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying that I'm still trying to think of things that have made it into the comic that I haven't meant to do. I'm sure that they're there. It's just it's hard to kind of put yourself outside of
yourself.
Yeah.
It's true. It's hard to examine your work in that way. Like Emma had to have a real think about it in order to come up with this. And we're just sort of coming to the idea now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm thinking that it's not just the mannerism. I think that characters imprint, if we're going to use this term, a lot on specific attitudes and reaction types, in a sense, like how, for example, like Basil is generally the type that doesn't react violently, at least not immediately. It has to be very specifically triggered in order to just go ballistic. However, Orestes goes ballistic first, and then he thinks about things, which is an issue with him. And these are very specific types of reactions that I have encountered in my life and had to put up with in a lot of cases. And they just translate into the character without me needing to actually think it. I never thought when designing Orestes that, oh, okay, he's going to be the guy that explodes before you finish the sentence, and then he realizes that he assumed something else than what you said, and then he sheepishly will just be silent and brood and stuff like that. He became this way because the halo effect and the impact that I wanted him to have immediately coincided with the person that had that impact on me. And he would react this way, and he would do these things. So there's also that. It's not always you that your characters are imprinting off. It's all your experiences with other people as well.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do sort of take on notable personalities of other people around you. And reactions, negative things, obviously, because Orestes is not he's not a nice character, and you would give him more negative kind of impressions of people.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And now that I think about it, I realize who I have copied for Eichel, who is my top Nazi guy. He's the
It was
short.
Oz, wasn't it?
What? What was that?
That it was Oz, wasn't it?
How did you guess? No, actually, and it only came to me now because we're discussing this thing. I had this classmate in high school, and I remember when I first saw him, in first day of school, he was drop dead gorgeous. He was the most handsome boy I had seen ever up until then. Blonde, blue eyes, nice face, you name it. But he was such a dickhead. Sorry, you can leave that out. He was genuinely deviant. He was the guy that would prank you with, these little explosives that could cause injury. He would hide them in bathrooms, and whoever was unlucky enough to be near, or God forbid, be over whatever, the utensil, basically screwed.
Oh God, that's terrible.
He set fires in dustbins and everything, and he would attack other students.
Wow.
What?
I said I can see why you liked him.
Yeah, I was absolutely enthralled. And we also had a row between us because he called me something, and then I called him something, and then we had a bit of a run-in. But then the teacher came and broke it up, so nothing
Broke up the
really
epic
happened.
kung fu fight that was just beginning between you two.
Yeah, it would probably be an epic bitch slap fight, but yeah.
No, I think we've got to dramatize this Bruce Lee.
And of course, as you can imagine, he got expelled very, very quickly. Like I don't think he even lasted for a semester. I think just before the semester ended, he also ended, and that was it. And I remember that after 2 weeks or 3 weeks of going to school every day and having him in my class, to me he appeared as the ugliest little bastard that I had ever seen. So which is an experience I will never forget, because it really isn't looks that make who is handsome and who isn't. It's the whole package. And now he's my top Nazi.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that is amazing how someone's appearance can change in your own eyes that much.
Yeah.
Once you see a little bit of them and know what they're really like and everything.
Yeah, your impression of people change. You have this like kind of bland first impression, sort of just based on, like, a cultural view of what's handsome or whatever. Oh yeah, that person is looking really cool. They're attractive to me, but once you know their personality, it changes your impression of the way that person looks, and then maybe other people who look the same, you tend to think they're assholes as well, based on your initial experience with this other person. So that's weird.
I've had the reverse for sure, where I see. Sorry, Tans.
No, go ahead.
I can more think of the reverse, where like I'll see people who resemble someone I really like, or even someone I don't know anymore, and I'll really like them automatically, and they might be awful. So that's not a bad idea for webcomic too. So many good ideas.
So many good ideas.
End up getting yourself in trouble with someone who you project
good
things on when it's not warranted or something.
Yeah, well, it's just a simple way the brain tries to make sense of the world, doesn't it? It uses past experience, much to its own chagrin. The word for the day, chagrin.
Much to my chagrin.
Charging.
That's how I used to pronounce it, always. Charging. Never used to know that
I
word.
still would have if I hadn't had you guys today. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah. I always make mistakes with words like that.
Yeah.
It's
I remember one time I said the word raucous. This is the first time I ever said it out loud. I read it in books for forever, and I pronounced it as raucous. And my friend
Yes, I used to always do
mocking
that
me
too.
viciously. That's what it looked like to me. Guys started repeating it over and over
Cautious.
for the whole time that we were together that day. It's like, all right.
That reminds me, I have this friend who's very erudite and intellectual, and he's read everything. And the first time he was talking to me about how he used to have an eagle as a pet, and he said that he was describing its talons. And he was talons.
Talons.
Because he'd never, spoken that word out loud or heard that word out loud in English before, so he didn't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's just how you say it in your head when you see it.
Talons.
Talons. That's funny.
Oh, jeez. Oh, we've got...
I have to remind myself to say facade instead of facade.
Facade?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Facade.
I've done that. I did it in class once, and I think the facade was made out of this.
Oh no, that's so embarrassing in class.
Girls didn't even go here.
I don't know. I don't think it really should be embarrassing, because a behavior that directly implies or proves that you read books that give you more of a vocabulary than you have actually heard is a good thing. You actually read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point, Hans.
I disagree. I think if you mispronounce it, you should go kill yourself.
I think you're over the top of your microphone. You've got to move back so your microphone is more.
I didn't catch much of that.
Yeah, you're super quiet, actually.
Am I? That's weird because I'm closer to it here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, now you're back.
I think your computer is using your headphone system for the microphone.
Oh, that's weird.
Okay, now you're okay. Crystal clear.
Yeah, now you're back.
All right. Well,
what she said was quite funny, actually. I could hear it.
Didn't get to hear it. Now I'll have to listen to the Quackast.
Now the moment's passed. You got to listen to the Quast. The Quast.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Oh, damn. I did it.
None of us are going to make it out of this.
No.
Oh, jeez.
I remember I did this whole project one time in English class. And I thought I discovered Carl Jung because I went to the library and I found this book, and it was all these sort of archetypal characters and, personifications of different abstract concepts and, the gambler and the this and that.
Oh, yeah.
And so I went back to class and I'd done this whole sort of exploration, and I started talking about Carl Jung. And I actually brought it in, and my English teacher,
Have you ever read any of that Kant? That Kant guy is great.
Yeah.
Well,
don't even try anything, man.
Consolation. We in music class we had one of the assignments was and it was all in English because I went to an English American school and everything half and half of the classes were in English. So it was English, and we had to have an assignment of bringing a small bio of a famous composer. And one of my classmates said, "And now I will talk to you about Chopin."
That's such a Greek way of pronouncing it.
Yeah.
Chopin was born in...
Better get chopping with that piano, mister.
Exactly.
His most famous composition was Chopsticks, named after him.
Yeah.
the art, the art teacher was incensed. Like, how dare you not know?
Oh, really? Oh my god.
Yeah. She was
Up herself.
a bit of a bitch. So,
Mhm.
and she also had the complex that the students weren't taking her lessons seriously, and so she made every effort to be super strict so that we would pay attention, and of course nobody did.
Yeah. Silly woman. Did you base any characters on her?
No, she didn't really make that much of an impression on me as my Nazi classmate did. So
That's your Nazi classmate.
Wonder whatever happened to that guy.
Remember the Golden Dawn now.
I wouldn't be surprised actually, and I also wouldn't be surprised if he's
in government,
a rap or whatever it's called, but he was also very rich, so he's probably not in jail.
It's probably police.
Oh, rich on top of it. Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was filthy rich actually.
Wow. So he's like the classic anime villain.
Twist. Yeah.
What's that,
Pit?
I said, well, the twist is that it was me all along.
Yeah. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It was always
There's a twist.
Pit. M. Night Shyamalan, eat your heart out. I think Cece, for me, Cece wasn't based on any, like, she's the sort of the pinky antagonist character. She wasn't based on anyone evil or nasty. She's just another archetype of, oh, I have the long-haired lady. I need a short-haired ladies can be sexy too. I need the fit short-haired lady. So she was based on all the fit short-haired ladies, like what's that woman? Jamie Lee Curtis, all that kind of thing. So
right.
That's who she was sort of taking off. But yeah, no one's mannerisms or anything like that. She's just a generic sexy lady.
Yeah.
With a heart on her crotch.
Like all ladies should. Precisely. Wear their heart on their crotch.
Like the next marks the spot.
Oh god, yes.
The characters have to have mannerisms in the first place in order for them to be based on it.
Yeah, she's not much of a character. True.
I'm kidding. She's kind of background a little bit. She has her little moments.
More so now. Yeah, she's a nasty lady. Well, I think we're about the hour. We should wrap it up, hey?
All right.
Imprints and impressions, and yeah, what do you where do your things come from? Which is interesting. Right, bye everyone. Bye.
Bye now.
Quackast 390 out.